This video will concern itself with operations strategy and competitiveness. So the role of operations strategy, well, it provides a plan that specifies and makes the best use of organizational resources. We start with a business strategy. We'll start at the organizational level, which sets out the plans for the business. The business strategy is the vision for the business. It perhaps runs over a 3, maybe a 5-year period or even longer, which sets out where the business wants to be, what it wants to achieve, the type of goals it's setting itself. So that is the strategic vision of the business. Now that will drive the other aspects of the business. For example, the marketing strategy. The marketing strategy will aim to make a contribution, a big contribution, towards the attainment of the overall business strategy. So the marketing strategy will set out marketing plans for the business, and those marketing plans will be in line with the business aspirations, what the business wants to achieve. There will also be an operations strategy which sets out how the processes of the business will be implemented. This shows in detail what functions the business needs to undertake and how it will go about achieving those functions. And of course there will be a finance strategy which develops the financial framework of the business. We'll look into the way the business is managed financially, the sources of capital and how the capital itself is used. So the business strategy is the overall vision. That's where the business wants to be, and then there are these components in the business. Clearly, of course, this depends on the nature of the business, what's been produced and what's been proposed. There may be some businesses where there are additional components added. But for the moment, that's a good representation of business and the various functional forms the business can take which subscribe to the overall business plan. Now, the importance of operations strategy. Well, in looking at the operations strategy, we have essentially how the business is going to work, how it's going to perform its functions. So we should distinguish between operational efficiency and strategy. Strategy is what the business is trying to do, and the operations strategy is how it's going to go about performing the various functions that are required, perhaps production or distribution or whatever the various functions are. How will it go about achieving what it wants to achieve? So that is the strategy. The strategy states what it's going to do and how it's going to go about performing the functions. But operational efficiency is the extent to which it performs these functions with minimal resources, or with the efficient use of resources. So efficiency and strategy needs to be distinguished. Operational efficiency is performing tasks well. Generally, they should be performed better than the competitors. If the business is going to exist, if it's going to survive, the business should be more efficient than the competitors. Whereas strategy, as I said earlier, is the plan for competing in the marketplace. It's how the business is going to perform its functions, how it's going to produce the goods, the emphasis it places on quality and throughput and packaging and distribution and so on. It's all of the functions of the business and how these can come together to enable it to compete in the marketplace. Operation strategy is to ensure all tasks performed are the right tasks. It's to make sure that there is an efficiency within the organization, to make sure that the organization is not duplicating effort or wasting effort, and that the capital expended within the business is spent efficiently, that there is a rationale for it, that it's clearly understood, and it's going to yield benefits to the organisation through its competition in the marketplace. Now, developing a business strategy. Well, a business strategy is based on many internal and external factors, and also follows a set of strategic decisions, such as the nature of the business. What is it that the owners of the business want to achieve? They want to achieve perhaps profitability, a good return on investment, but they also may want to promote the image of the business. They may want to provide particular products because they believe strongly in the products. There may be an ethical dimension to the business, and the owners of the business wish to promote some particular ethical stance. So what's the nature of the business? What's the mission of the business? What's it trying to achieve overall? The wider factors affecting the business, for example, environmental scanning. The strategic decisions can't be taken in isolation. Strategic decisions must make reference to the environment within which the business operates. It must recognize the outward pressures, the political framework within which it operates, the social factors, the trends, the changes in society, the demographic factors, the age structure of the society, globalization. It must look at all of the environmental issues that impact on the business. Clearly identifying the company's strengths, for example, the core competencies of the business. What is it that the business can do that others find difficult? What are its core competencies? What are the talents or the facilities that the business has got that other businesses will find difficult, and which will therefore give the business a competitive edge? So if we look at these schematically, we've got the environmental scanning, monitoring the various influences that may impinge upon the business. The mission sets out the purpose and direction of the business, and the core competencies, the strengths that give the business a competitive advantage. Now, all of these fit into the business strategy. All of these go to make up the business strategy. Now, examples from strategies. Well, first of all, the mission. For example, make the business grow by 7% over the next 3 years. That could be the mission of the business. And it's a metric. It's something which can be measured. If the business grows by 5% over the next 3 years, then it's failed. It set itself the target of 7. If it achieves 9, it's overperformed. It's done extremely well. Environmental scanning could be through a pest analysis, a politics, economics, sociological and technological analysis. Pest looks at the environment, it looks at the political framework, the economic conditions that the company is working in, the social changes and the technological changes that are impinging on the business from the outside. So could be an environmental scanning. And the core competencies, well, identify the particular talents of the workers and management. Look at the technology and the market knowledge that the business has got. That gives the business advantage in the marketplace. Look at the talents of the marketing personnel or of the production personnel. Look at their ability. Look at the technology that the company is deploying. Look at their knowledge of the market and their understanding of trends and changes and so on. These could be the core competencies of the business, which will give the business a competitive advantage. So these are what go to make the strategy of the business, the corporate strategy of the business. Now, developing an operations strategy. Now, this is just one of the components. We have a marketing strategy, an operations strategy, we have a product development strategy, we have various strategies, all of which move into the determination of the overall corporate strategy. But here we're going to look at just the operations strategy. Now, the operations strategy is a plan for the design and management of operations functions. It's looking at the operations of the business. How does the business go about making the product and manufacturing the product and delivering the product and so on? What are the various steps in the production process? Who's involved and why are they involved, and what is the contribution? Operations strategy is developed after the business strategy. The business must know where it's going before it can determine what the operations strategy is. It must have the corporate strategy in place. The corporate strategy will determine what the operations strategy is trying to achieve. So the operations strategy is making the functions of the business operate efficiently and effectively, and enabling them to subscribe to the overall achievement of the corporate objective. Operations strategy focuses on specific capabilities which give a competitive edge. This is the competitive priorities of the business. So the operations strategy looks at the capabilities of the business and tries to develop those so that the business becomes competitive. It enables the business to take on the competitors in the marketplace and win. So we've got the business strategy, the operations strategy, and we got the operations function. So the business strategy tells the operations strategy what is needed. The business strategy is where the business wants to be, what it wants to achieve, the goals of the business. The operations strategy looks at the competitiveness of the various functions of the business, the cost structure, the quality, the time, the flexibility that's involved in each of the functions to try and work out how competitive the business will be. And the operations strategy will move towards an operations function which looks at the structure, the technology, the plant layout, scheduling, logistics. It'll also look at infrastructure, work, pay, conditions, quality, monitoring. So, in other words, the operations strategy will determine what happens in practice, what happens in a very detailed fashion, looking at how the plant should be laid out on the factory floor, how the offices should be organized, what technology should be used, what software should be used, what quality should the business aspire to, and what are the quality procedures. How is the business planned? Will the suppliers deliver on a frequent basis so that there are minimal stock holding, or will it operate a large stock of raw materials and components? So these are the operations issues, and these come out of the operations strategy, and the operations strategy depends on the business strategy. Now, the competitive priorities, the edge. Well, will competition be primarily on the basis of cost? So what will competition be based on? Will it be based on cost only? In other words, is the product relatively homogeneous? Is it relatively the same as what the competitors are making, so that the cheapest one is going to win? Will it be on quality? Or time? When is it delivered? How frequently can the company deliver to the customers? And flexibility. What if customer demands change slightly? Can the product be altered to meet the new requirements? Or if customers want it delivered at certain times, can the company change and deliver when the customers want? What sort of flexibility, in other words, has the production system got? And which of these dominates? Which of these is most important? Is it the cost of making the product which will determine the price of the product? that the customer will have to pay? Is it the quality or the time? What is it exactly that determines this market? And is there a trade-off between them? If the cost is lowered, but the quality is also lowered as a consequence, is that acceptable? Is it acceptable to the customer that it's now cheaper, but perhaps the product is not as good as it used to be? Now, competing on cost. Well, offering a product at a low price relative to the competition. That's what we mean by competing on cost. Typically, this applies to a high volume product, something which is mass produced. So there's nothing very special about the product. It's mass produced and put into the shops. So competition may be based on the cost of production. And the one who can produce the product the cheapest, in a sense, is the winner. The good is well established in the marketplace. Customers know what it is. It's a mass-produced good. It's quite cheap. There are many outlets, perhaps, who stock it. So the producers who can produce most effectively and cheapest, typically they're the ones who are going to win. It may be a limited product range with little customization. It could be that it's a small amount, but it's all of the items are exactly the same. So again, competition would be on cost. It may use automated processes to reduce unit costs. Typically, these items are mass produced, and is mass produced by large dedicated machines, perhaps programmed machines who perform functions very fast and repetitively. Low skilled labour can be deployed, can be used. The workers don't have to have a lot of training. They simply look after the machines and make sure the machines are running and move the product from one point to the next and get it out the door, get it distributed to the customer. Probably use product-focused layouts. It's usually the case that with mass production, large parts of the shop floor will be dedicated to that particular product, and the machines and the layout will be designed so as to enable from start to finish exercise to be done, and the raw materials are entered at the start and the finished product drops off at the end, and it goes through various machining processes and various technical processes on the way. So the layout of the shop floor may be determined by the requirements of the various functions that need to be performed. It should be said that low cost does not necessarily mean low quality, but with mass production, generally speaking, the quality is not emphasized. Quality is not considered as a big issue. They will ensure that the parameters are met, that the technical specifications are met, that the product is safe to use, and that it conforms to essentially what's on the packet. But it may not be very well policed in terms of quality. Now, competing on quality, well, quality is usually subjectively assessed. I mean, what is quality? Sometimes people look at products and think it looks like good quality, so therefore they buy it. It could be based on reputation. For example, we look at certain cars, we don't have to sit in the car or drive the car, we just think that's a good quality car. It's reputation. The badge signifies good quality. But a lot of items we do subjectively assess. We in our minds we think this is certain quality. Other items we do need a set of metrics, a set of measurements, and a set of qualifying statistics before we can say it is good quality. Its weight, its dimensions, its functionality, its performance, its longevity. So there may be lots of issues that contribute towards our assessment of quality. So it does depend on the assessor, but also there may be objective measures that we can apply. Now, two major quality dimensions include high performance design, so superior features, high durability, and excellent customer services. These would be good dimensions of quality. And also product and service consistency, meets design specifications, for example, but also has close tolerances. In other words, if it says it's a certain length, then it should be that length. If not, it should be very close to what it said. Very, very close. The closer, the better the quality. So these are major quality dimensions: high performance design and product and service consistency. Delivering what the company promised they were going to deliver. And it should be error-free if possible. The delivery of the product, the overall quality of the product, and the customer experience in buying the product and in setting the product up and using it, that should be error-free. It should be straightforward, and the customer should feel satisfied with the purchase. Now, quality needs to address the product design quality. The product service meets the requirements. The product design quality is that the product meets what it says it's going to do. The design of the product should be perfectly matched or aligned with the customer requirements. The customer requirements should have been picked up from market surveys and market contacts, perhaps through the marketing department and through the use of focus groups and surveys and so on. And then the product developed from there and then designed and delivered with the requirements of the customer in mind. There should be error-free products. The quality should be well established. And competing on quality means that there is reliability of the product, and the customer is going to get an experience which the customer anticipated. The customer wants a good experience. They're using their finite resources, their cash, to buy the product. So they want a good experience, and that's what they should get from the encounter with the product. Now, competing on time, well, time or speed is one of the most important competition priorities. The first that can deliver often wins the race. So it's important that the company is configured to get the product out, to meet customer requirements, and to be the first to market. The one who can deliver a product first can get the product established, get the name established, get the reputation established. So speed is of the essence. Now, time-related issues involve rapid delivery, getting the product to market, getting the position in the market established and consolidated so that the customers recognize the product and start to recognize the brand. It's focused on shorter time between the order placement and delivery. When customers know the product and they're familiar with the output of the company, when they place an order, they want the order completed fast. They don't want to go into a long waiting list, waiting time, and eventually become frustrated and perhaps cancel the order, and also damage the reputation of the business. So delivering the product fast to the customer is very important, and it should be on delivery. On delivery, the time should be specified as to when it was promised and when it was delivered. So the customer can see it was promised on a certain day and it was delivered on that day. That represents quality. That represents a good image for the business. So it's on-time delivery. Delivery product exactly when needed every time. So as far as possible, the company should be able to deliver on time and when promised. Now, of course, this may have some impact on the structure of the business. If the business is operating on a just-in-time basis, then it may not be able to deliver instantaneously. If it's producing for stock and holding finished items in stock, then of course it could meet demand such as this immediately. So it depends on the philosophy that the management want to use. Sometimes management may want to have JIT as the overarching philosophy, but it may want to keep some items in stock, a limited number, just in case, knowing full well that that is a pure cost, knowing full well that the products held in stock are a pure cost on the business. They're not yielding a return on the business, but for the sake of the reputation of the business, it's felt worthwhile just keeping some, just in case. Now, competing on flexibility, well, the company's environment may change rapidly. Companies must accommodate change by being flexible. All sorts of things can change. The environment, as I said, may change rapidly. There may be new trends and fashions in society. There may be new ways of living, or new ways of using products, or new desires to possess some products, or some modifications, or whatever. And the competitors in markets are constantly innovating and changing their products. So companies are experiencing pressures not just from the wider environment, but from the competitors within their own industry. So there's a need to have product flexibility, which means easily switching production from one item to another, easily changing the product over, or making some changes to the design of the product, or making some adjustments. It should be easily customized product or service to meet specific requirements of a customer. Some customers may be large purchasers. For example, companies may sell to a specific warehouse or a chain of shops. They represent a big purchaser, and they may have special requirements, and the company should be able to modify the product in line with their requirements. There's also volume flexibility, the ability to ramp production up and down to match market demands. If the machines are set to run at one speed only, then that's the amount that's going to be produced. At the end of the run, if they've produced too much, they'll have to turn off the machines and wait for demand to pick up. It might be better to keep the machines running and the staff occupied and engaged, so that they're not de-skilling or becoming frustrated with standing around. So the machines should have flexibility built in, enable them to run perhaps at half speed or whatever. There needs to be volume flexibility. If there's a sudden increase in demand for the product, they should be able to step up production to meet the requirements. This may mean having overtime working and working longer hours, but they should be able to tap into some sort of resources that gives them that flexibility. The need for trade-offs. Well, decisions must emphasize priorities that support business strategy. So the decisions must emphasize the priorities. The priorities of the business should be clearly stated, and they should be in accordance with the business strategy. There should be no contradiction between the priorities as stated by the management and what the strategy of the business is. If there was a contradiction, then the organisation is very confused about its direction. But decisions often require trade-offs. So, production requirements. Well, specific operation requirements include two general categories. First of all, structure. Decisions related to the production process, such as characteristics of facilities used, selection of appropriate technology, and the flow of goods and services. So, it's important to know what the structure of a business is. So, production requirements needs to work out what the structure is. What are the production processes? What are the characteristics of the facilities used, the selection of appropriate technologies, the flow of goods and services. So it's important that there is a clear understanding of what the structure of the organisation is and what is the required structure. The infrastructure are the decisions related to planning and control systems of operations. So there should be a way of controlling the structure of the organisation, the way it goes about producing the output. There should be control systems, and the management should be able to intervene to ensure that there's continuity in production, there's a smooth passage of raw materials through to finished product. The strategic role of technology. Well, technology should support competitive priorities. Clearly, the right technology should be purchased to ensure that the business objectives are achieved. It would be silly to go out and buy the wrong technology, because that would not support the business or support what the business wants to stand. So clearly there should be a linkage between the technology in the business and the priorities of the business. There are three applications. Product technology. Well, changes to the composition and or design of the product caused by changes in technology. So example could be the use of carbon fibre in the manufacture of cars. So sometimes technology drives the change, but clearly the benefits from the technology have to be perceived, they have to be understood by the management, and so innovations and discoveries may determine the type of production that the organisation takes on, the type of production in terms of its layout, its machinery, its processes. These change over time. There are constantly a stream of new discoveries and new innovations. The process technology, well, the use of robotics and computer-aided design in production. The production technology has changed immensely over the years. Machinery now can be programmed and will perform particular tasks to very high standards. Currently there are big inroads being made into production processes using printer technology. But the idea of robotics and the full use of CAD in conjunction with production processes, that has still not been fully tapped. There is still, according to many expert papers on the subject, there's still a lot more mileage to be had out of these, and the future of robotics will be will make immense changes to the way in which production takes place. At least that's what the literature is suggesting. Information technology, well, the use of communications, networks, design software, stock control and logistics, these have made an immense change to the way in which production takes place. It's possible to communicate throughout companies very quickly, very smoothly. It's possible to stay in contact with customers and with suppliers, and to synchronize deliveries and production and distribution very finely because of the immense strides that have been achieved in terms of information technology. Now, technology for competitive advantage. Well, technology has positive and negative potentials. First of all, positive. It can improve processes. There can be better processes as a consequence of technology. Processes can be better synchronized, better quality can be achieved, more standardization, working to finer tolerances. These are some of the benefits that may be reaped from using technology. It's possible to maintain up-to-date standards and to tweak the requirements of machines by simply entering perhaps new code, or reprogramming the machine, or reprogramming the instructions that use the machine or that drive the machine, and thereby obtain a competitive advantage, because the machinery is able to work faster and perhaps to better tolerances with better quality than perhaps manual workers. Now, the negative impact of technology, well, it's costly. These type of machines are very expensive to purchase, and the company has to think hard and fast about the return on the investment, the payback period, and so on. And also, of course, it promotes dependency on the technology. Skilled workers are lost, and the skilled base of the company is depleted as a consequence of the deployment of these machines. Which of course means that the competitors may eventually install the same type of machinery, the same type of technology, and then there is no distinction between the two organizations. Both could produce the item perhaps equally well. So there's a loss of skilled personnel, and the innovative component within production when people come up with ideas and make recommendations and changes. All of that would be lost. The people will be replaced by the machines. And there are risks in overstating the benefits. Sometimes we get caught up with the idea that technology is extremely useful and is the future and is the way forward, when in fact human ingenuity, human thinking, human testing and human involvement may be more important. Producing a product for consumers, for humans, might best be done by humans who would empathize with what the customers require. So there are negative components to the technological debate also. So technology should support competitive priorities. Clearly we do need technology. As to the degree of technology, whether the organization should be fully technological or perhaps technology and traditional workers working side by side, these are debatable, as we've seen in the previous slides. But certainly the technology should support the competitive priorities of the organization. The appropriate technology should be bought in and used, in other words. Technology may require changes to strategic plans because technology may be capable of very fast production or may alter the way in which products are designed and delivered. In other words, the technology may start to have an impact on the business and the direction of the business. So the technology is, in a sense, starting to make an impact on the future course of the business. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. But we don't like, as humans, we don't like the idea of technology dictating the course of events. It could require changes in the operations strategy. Well, that is something we can conceive of very easily, that when new and sophisticated machinery is brought into the workplace, then certainly operations will change. The processes within the department will change, personnel will be replaced, and there'll have to be a reallocation of personnel and a redistribution of functions to accommodate the new machines and what they're capable of. So technology selection is an important strategic decision. So in this video, quite a long video, we've looked at various issues surrounding the operations strategy of the business. This is an important topic and one that you should go back over several times. Make notes and pad out your notes, do some supplementary reading, and make sure that you understand fully what's meant by the operations strategy of the business. But that's all we're going to deal with here, so we're going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.